Darren, thank you for taking the time. How's your day going aside from doing press and answering the same questions over and over and over again?
Um, well, my wife alarmingly texted me that she didn't have her wallet and she was with uh our boys. So I jumped out of what I was then doing to meet her only for her to not need my help at all. And she figured it out. So I got to the store and then as she was driving away, basically. So a complete waste of trying to be a hero. So that's how my day's going so far. But other than that, everything's cool. How are you?
There sounds like there's a song in there. You might be able to fish something out of that experience,
Yeah.
which, let's be optimistic about that. But
Yeah,
it sounds like
definitely.
you get enough stress relief out of Barbarians of California.
Yeah, I do. Or it's more stressful, actually, come to think of it, because I have to there is a certain amount of stress now that it's something that, it was an idea and it was a fun passion, sort of fantasy for a couple years, and now that it's a reality and the full album is coming out or is out, and then, of course, doing the October 19th show at the Troubadour, now it's time to really work hard and make sure that we're good.
Right. It's great to see that you came back to the punk hardcore thing. You've changed styles in a great way, and it's a return to form in a fantastic way. But how long
Thank you.
was it the works for this album to happen?
Um, I suppose from the original, the origin of it all, when Eric showed me a couple secretive riffs and instrumentals he had been working on. Um, I mean, he showed me some of this stuff years ago, but it wasn't until I got a little bit more serious and had the time to hear the rest of the body of work he had been working on, and kind of took the reins from there. So I would, like realistically, like two to, I mean, I've been on this path for years, really,
Right.
because with AWOL stuff, we tend to lean into the heavier side of that sound on tour quite a bit. So people have been insinuating and sort of requesting, the heavier AWOL fans, really, that I do something like this for years. And I was like, no, I already did that when I was younger, and I'd like to, but this is heavy enough, and blah blah blah. And then when the whole world shut down, it was really rewarding for me to juggle the new Awolnation stuff with the Barbarian stuff. So I was able to kind of like itch two scratches at the same time.
What hooked me to this band and the album was the Far Out Bro music video.
Yeah.
It sounds like that, and then you all are looking so happy and relaxed. Was that written into the treatment, or did that just
No.
evolve?
Well, the song's so ridiculous anyways, and the lyrics are so ridiculous. It's a fast song, and we had done some serious videos, and like with heavy music, it tends, I mean, if 90% of heavy music content is dark and
Mhm.
serious, right? And I've always loved a little bit of sarcasm in my music and other bands I like. And so we had no plan other than Zach Irons, our guitar player, lead guitar player. His sister is a very talented music video director. Her name's Amalia Irons, daughter of Jack Irons, the original drummer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Mhm.
Um, and anyways, I just told her, I'm like, can we just do like a cornball music video where we just shoot it in my driveway and have no plan other than just like almost intentionally doing something insane. Um, Almost like a late 90s, early 2000s bad music video kind of vibe. And she's like, sure. And then it ended up being a little more serious than I thought visually. It looks nice. She did a good job, but we were just having fun. Like with some of those lyrics, you can't take yourself too seriously. And of course, with the song title "Far Out, Bro," and then having Daryl from Snapcase,
Yeah.
I knew I couldn't fly him out for from Buffalo. It wouldn't work out, and so we just tried to have fun with it. It's a bit of a joke.
That was going to be part of my follow-up question. Where did you actually film it? That beautiful looking music video. That's your home?
It's nearby. It's nearby. Like I live up in the mountains and the canyons here, and so we just found a few areas where we could exist, kind of, because these songs aren't very nature like songs.
Yeah.
So, you'd expect to see like a dark industrial area, like, in like like um like the first Helmet video or something like that comes to mind.
Well, you called it out before that we think of metal and stuff as this dark music, but when you speak to
Yeah.
Page Hamilton from Helmet, you see he's maybe the most relaxed person on earth and a
Hmm.
big jazz guy. So, in other words, I
Yeah.
find that most metal people are very, very relaxed, and
Hmm.
it's the people who are singing the love songs who are the terrors who have 40-page riders.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe within heavy music you get to kind of express a lot of your energy and frustrations and high levels of passion, so you can be calm otherwise. And I found that in my journey, at least with the AWOL stuff, that you do these meet and greets all the time, right? So you meet different people across the world, and I can't tell you how many times people were disappointed at my energy level because they think it's going to be the guy who's singing aggressively on stage or moving around and jumping around. So it's usually like, hey, you seem so mellow. I'm like, well, yeah, I mean,
You get
um,
it out on stage and on record.
yeah, I do,
Except
or
when
in a
your wife
workout,
tells
or
you to bring you her wallet urgently.
I was
Except
chill about that, honestly. I was really mellow about that. I drove there fast because she had our boys with her, and so I wanted to make sure everything was okay. And then
totally.
I did get a text before this interview that, hey, I really appreciate that. Sorry, I didn't communicate good, which is a sorry is a rare thing in my life. So so things are looking up, man, for the rest of the night.
Sure. Well, again, a new record which is out this week, and now I'm
Mhm,
just gnashing my teeth. Are there leftovers? In other words, are there
mhm.
extra tracks?
No, not yet, but we can make extra tracks anytime. That was kind of it. We kept going and going. And I'm like, oh, here's an album done. Let's put it out. Um, and we'll see how the show goes. To me, it's like, usually you have a destination, or
Mhm.
I do at least. I like to, like, a finish line or an event, when I release music, what that is, and kind of have my focus, like maybe it's a tour or some sort of higher pressure filmed show that's a little more stressful or whatever it is. And for me, I'm excited that people are going to finally hear this collection of songs and the little peaks and valleys and twists and turns, because there's a lot of surprises on the record that I don't think people will see coming. Um, but that all to be said, it's really about the October 19th Troubadour show. And I'm probably putting too much pressure on myself and too much of a spotlight on that event. But I hope it's an energetic show that reminds me of takes me back to when I fell in love with heavy music, around the age of 12. That's what my hope is, at least.
That this is a compliment, intended to be a compliment. There's no gotcha part to it.
So scary. This is so scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't.
What did you choose the Troubadour of all
Yeah.
venues? Because I would have to assume there's a certain percentage of the Awolnation fan base that just buys everything, that loves
Mhm.
everything you do unconditionally. And Troubadour is a pretty small place, and I don't associate it with being like the most punk rock of LA venues.
True. But if you look at the history, well, one, availability was a big
Oh,
part of it. Believe it or not, there's so many places that were booked, and all the hipster spots and whatnot. But the Troubadour is something so classic about it, and from John Lennon and Harry Nilsson's like debauchery, Lost Weekend and all these things, or some shows that I personally seen there. I saw the White Stripes there when no one knew who they were. My old manager's like, "Hey, there's this group that's really good. They're called the White Stripes. We should check it out." And walked in there, and I remember they just set up their own gear. I'm like, "Is this the band?" I didn't know they were wearing all red, and then they just started playing. I'm like, "Oh, it's the band. This is cool." And it was a really good show. Um, and the list goes on and on and on. But I don't know. There's not necessarily really any perfect venue for something like this, because we don't really know what this is yet. We don't know. I'm assuming it'll be decently attended and
oh,
and
yeah.
hopefully exciting and all that. But I don't know if it's going to be diehard AWOL fans, some new fans that like heavy music, some people who kind of like didn't like AWOL that much but like this and heard it on like Liquid Metal or whatever. I have no idea. So it's going to be a fun experience. And to share the stage with Strife and Will Haven and Berthold City is gonna be it's just gonna be a fun reunion of my youth. And so to answer your question, just straight up availability, and the Troubadour is kind of classic.
Oh, it absolutely is. I just thought that the law was anytime you're doing an underplay as an established artist, it has to be the whiskey. I thought that was the law based on
Well,
Guns N'
okay,
Roses.
so look, when I first came up with like the concept of doing a show, right? I was like, let's fucking do the whiskey because the no one likes going to the whiskey anymore. You,
No.
no one does, and it's become like this. Something needs to change, and I don't mean to be rude to anyone, but it's got these sponsors and this and that. And I saw some great shows at the whiskey, some great hardcore shows, and the stage at the whiskey is really tall. So from a playing perspective or singing perspective, it's always like, there's nothing weirder than playing a venue or spot where the stage is very tall and it's a small place.
Yeah.
It's a contradiction, so but I did think like, oh, this would be super fun. Take it back to the Sunset Strip, whiskey, right? Whiskey, that would be so cool. But they're on the business level, their stuff was silliness and what they offered and the availability again. But I did originally think that, and then the Roxy, I think was another choice. And we've known the owner forever. He's a great guy. And, so I don't know. We landed on the Troubadour. Seems like a good place to go. Um, I've never played the Troubadour as AWOL either, so this will be cool because the last time I played was in a previous band, like 15 plus years ago.
My favorite random factoid, I don't know if most people who go to the Troubadour realize that, is that John Taffer from Bar Rescue was the manager of the Troubadour in the late
Mm,
80s, early 80s. Is that on your radar at all?
no, it's not. It's not, but it's a good anecdote to say the least.
So back to you and your success and your awesomeness and all that.
Ugh,
Once the show at the Troubadour is done, the album's
yeah.
out. I'm not asking for exclusives, but do you know what 2025 looks like? For example, do you have touring plans, writing plans, or are you taking some time, well-deserved time off?
No, no time off. I mean, the machine of AWOL and the plans I have for that and the bridge between AWOL and Barbarians continues on, and it's out of love. I have this new podcast that's coming out soon. It's a
Oh,
show slash podcast called AWOL Nation's Totally Committed. And I went around the whole country and asked everybody I could ask what their favorite song was and why. And while that may seem like an obvious, dinner or cocktail conversation, it wasn't so obvious at all. And I got to know people. We're in an election cycle right now, and like while the world seems like we're supposed to hate each other, we actually have more in common than we don't. And talking about music was my way to cut through that tape in a lot of ways. And some of the answers would blow you away and some of them are on the nose, so just getting to know people, that's a huge focus of mine moving forward is continuing on the Totally Committed podcast. That's supposed to come out, the first episode is supposed to come out sometime in the next like 4 weeks, let's say, and that'll be my main focus, and then it'll get more specific on um different genres. And and what's cool is you get to know someone better than you would talking about almost anything else. And I'm sure you're a music lover like me, and you have
mhm,
relationships that otherwise wouldn't even exist if it weren't for the bond over
correct.
that one Radiohead record or that Guns N' Roses B-side or whatever it is, right? And so yeah, that's kind of my main focus outside of that's the extracurricular stuff that I'm really focused on right now. Outside of just, and then there's a whole Awolnation headlining tour next year. And
Cool.
then with the Barbarian stuff, we just want to play as many shows as we can. Not probably not do a tour until it's something that we have to,
Sure.
unless there's a track, a railroad, so to speak, where we could jump on that thing and ride it. If Metallica wants us to open, which they should, and I encourage them to, come ask us. We would love to do something like that. I was just on another podcast with Toby,
Yeah.
um, and Robert Trujillo was on the week before. So I'm getting closer to Metallica here. Is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, you're in through Robert is Chloe because his wife is an incredible artist,
Yeah,
designer, Yeah, bets are in. But
Funny
let
enough, I've played with Metallica a lot in AWOL, and especially in Europe, where the festivals are more open to all genres, you know.
yes.
And we've always been a bit of a chameleon, and no one knows where to place us. And so there was this cool run, like several years ago, where AWOL actually played with Slayer and Metallica, like on the same stage and everything in Germany twice, 2 days in a row, and then in Austria as well. And that was a really cool thing. And then we played with Metallica again at Voodoo Fest in like 2014, I want to say, in the States in New Orleans. So that was pretty cool.
Wow. Well, my last question, I don't get it. I don't know if it gets a 2-second no or an 8-minute diatribe right here. Is you're a long-term LA person and you have played the biggest venues, but you also came up on the club scene, but you did the festival thing. Was there ever any overlap with Van Halen at any point in time?
No, I wish there was. I'm digging deep. Is there a Hagar thing there? I mean, well, yeah, here's an overlap. My drummer Isaac and bass player Mark Wallach. So Isaac Carpenter and Mark Wallach, they kind of sarcastically, but it's that fine line between sarcasm and sincerity. They love Cabo Wabo tequila. So they're it's like, well, so what kind of tequila do you guys want on the rider? And I don't really drink anymore. No, we don't really drink the way we used to. And they're like, I just like Cabo Wabo. And so that's the overlap I could think of. Pretty good. That's there you have it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Aaron, hey, thank you for the decades of great art. Hope we
Thank
eventually
you.
get a Barbarian show here in New York on the East Coast. But
Love
meantime,
it.
looking forward to whatever's to come, whether it's AWOL, Barbarians, you as a collaborator, whatever it is, keep it up.
Thank you so much for your time and the kind words.
Paltrocast.